Next is John Goolgasian, founder and president of Seerist Federal. John, I saved you to last because I think you're going to tell us about where things may be headed in the future and how we might use some of this new technologies and thinking about what kind of methodologies we need to do for self-reflection.
Great, thanks, and thanks to the other panelists for your insightful comments. I'm going to tell a story instead of my prepared remarks because I don't think I'm going to add more to the knowledge that you've had here. But building off of what the Admiral talked about, again, as he's traveled around and seen different common operational pictures, different capabilities, but they all end up on a PowerPoint. I'm gonna one up him. I wish he was here. Because real quick on it, Cirrus builds technology that automates the understanding of geopolitical and security threat assessments used by commercial and government organizations. And we were last year called into one of our government clients to see if we could help them automate a process that they've done manually for years and years, looking at foreign information operations and foreign influence activities. Um, and they laid out for us a product they create every 12 to 18 months, because that's how long it takes to create. It wasn't a PowerPoint. It was a book about the size of about half of one of these tables that opened up to every country in the world, looking at our foreign adversaries' influence operations and capabilities in those countries. One, I held it in suspect immediately because it takes 12 to 18 months to review. So if I went to see what China or Russia was doing in Antigua, it was definitely not what it is today. So how do you take and revolutionize these things? How do you take and change what the Admiral was describing of looking at different common operational pictures around the world to understand what's happening from an adversarial perspective, but also what is the United States counter toward that perspective? That's the other question. Oh, and also, how do you trust it? So I'm gonna end my comments on trust. That was the next question that I asked of the client who had the large capability. Well, first question we asked is, one, how do you do that today? If you had unlimited manpower, do you have the sources to create this faster? Those are the two main questions that you should ask for anybody who says they can automate something, they can put AI toward this thing. Can it be done with unlimited resources, and is the data available to do it? The answer to both of those was kind of. But then also, unto itself, what an adversary is influence operations or information operations in a country. How are you assessing that? How do we counter that, or what is the counter toward current counter toward that, so that again we can grade ourselves. Are we ahead there? Or are we behind there? And where do we need to put the resources that were discussed earlier today as well? That wasn't being done. So the short story of this is we went back and built a neural net and a series of deep learning models to track adversarial actions, information operations in every country in the world, based on openly available data, not classified information, and then delivered that, but also said, hey, we're going to go one better, and we're going to develop that counter influence operation model as well to see what is the United States and other countries doing that could give that, again, true net assessment of, are we yellow, green, red in certain areas, and where are different levers being pulled. The biggest I'd say impediment to a lot of these things that you see claim organizations, and we are an AI company, I'm going to kind of say what the limitations are, is the available data to analyze that information. There's lots and lots of information out there, and that's the true value of AI is, hey, we can go and analyze the world quickly, continuously. So it's not 18 months, it's updated once a day, every minute as things happen, depending on the type of analysis that you're trying to do. But how do you trust that? How do you verify that? Is the information there to support that? So let me go to that piece on trust that you should ask on anybody who's bringing these type of things in as well. How do you trust what an assessment, what a machine-driven assessment is creating? Artificial intelligence is nothing new. release of the the latest versions of ChatGPT kind of is democratizing it, raising it to the forefront, asking questions. The question we almost always get is, how do I trust what your system is telling me? Right? How do I trust? I don't trust AI. We work with commercial companies that we don't want any AI in our systems. Um, why do you trust the person that is telling you an answer to something? Why do I trust an analyst or an operator who comes to me and says, "Sir, ma'am, this is what we believe PRC is doing, not China. This is what we believe, Russia is going to do next in this country. This is what we believe we should do." It's not because they're a person. It's trust but verify. Verify that analyst's background, their training, their experience, the data that they use to come up with that assessment. Those same questions should be asked toward every piece of automation that you bring into a capability as well. What data is it trained on? Who trained it? Because even in things like AlphaGo and that made the unusual decision, how fighter pilot or AI that's driving or flying planes is making those decisions that were unanticipated. They're anticipating those things based on hours and hours and hours of training, based on what people have done in the past, and calculating things that, kind of bringing those things together that may not be obvious to, everyone, but they were trained by a person on real data, hopefully on real data, and not synthetic data. So asking those questions on that you would ask a person, an expert. Why are you an expert? Why do I trust your assessments? Those same things should be asked of any artificial intelligence that is brought into things like that assessment. And then let them run. I kind of close out with kind of maybe a different look at Michael's paradigm of human driven, AI driven. I don't believe it's a linear process at all. It's really a matrix of really human trained, AI assessed, human validated decision making process. Then really driving all those things together so that you can look at assessments of what our adversaries are doing, what we're doing, comparing those things, and then allowing systems to create multiple future scenarios that is then you provide to your limited resources, which are your people, right? And then the experts can take that and move forward with that assessments as well.